upgrades.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am back here again to give you guys another movie review. This is Transformers Rise of the Beast. I was intrigued because I'm a big Beast Wars fan and I do love Transformers, but I mean, through the years, after Transformers 1, 2, 3, and then as so on, I think after the last night, I kind of gave up for a little bit. Bumblebee gave me a breath of fresh air, and I will say effectively that this is another breath of fresh air. I'll break down the reasons why this works so well. And I mean, the thing is that I didn't know is that this is a great cast. Like, I didn't realize how good the cast actually was. If you look here, you got Anthony Ramos. If you've seen Hamilton, you know who he is. If you've seen Blind Spot, and you know what he is. You got Peter Cullen's back, of course, but you've got Colman Domingo. You got Peter Dinklage as Scourge, is one of the main antagonists. If you know who Unicron is, that is huge. Ron Perlman as Optimus Primal. If any of you guys know who the Maximals are from Beast Wars, oh my gosh. Michelle Yeoh as Air Razor. Got my man Tobe Nwigwe in this. He's got a feature song in this, as well as he's a character Reek. He's got a relationship with the main character, Anthony Ramos's character, Noah. And dude, this cast is stacked. And I'll talk about Pete Davidson in a second as well. Like, the cast, first off, I'm going to say this, and I haven't felt this way since the first Transformers movie, live action, because there's been some good stuff that's happened from animation. I'll get to that a little bit later on. But in terms of actually liking the cast, and I still to this day think that the first Transformers movie, that was a huge cast. That was a really big human cast, because this cast, I mean, it's a culmination of like actors and Autobots and Maximals and stuff that I can't talk about. But there was a lot of humans, and I didn't really, since the first movie, I hadn't really been drawn to any of them since maybe like Bumblebee, and even with that, it wasn't a lot. This time around, I actually like the humans. There are characters in this one that I actually really like, and I think that first off, I got to talk about and give credit where credit's due with Anthony Ramos. He brings a very interesting energy to this because he's got a very promising backstory. Like, he's got a younger brother that he loves, a mother, doesn't have a father figure in his life, and he's just trying to make it. He had a past and something happened and it changed his perception of everything. And then when he makes contact with these crazy alien robots, it turns his world upside down in a way a lot better. And I think the thing that works with him is that he's got emotional depth. Like, he's very talented, but he also is very physical. He does really good with action. And I think that him on top of Dominique Fishback, I think that they were a good pairing. Like, there are a lot of scenes that I kind of like seeing them individually chewing up scenery. I think they did very well on their individuals' respect. Because Dominique Fishback, if you don't know, she's an amazing actress. Like, she just finished Swarm. She was amazing in that. But she has been in everything, and she is no different here. She is equally as good. But I think that they make her a more reserved character. She's very smart, witty. She's a geologist, and she's just trying to figure out what's going on. And they have her doing a little bit more physicality stuff, but I mean, she's more the reserved character, and Anthony Ramos' Noah character is doing a lot more of the action beat. But I did like Alina and Noah's relationship for the most part, because they didn't make it like this lovey-dovey kind of thing. They just were moving and getting things done, and I like that. Now, this was the crazier thing with the soundtrack. The soundtrack to this was so dope because this takes place in the 90s. And so they had a classic soundtrack, like songs that you will know. And I was so surprised and caught off guard by it. I was like, oh, we're still in the 90s. This is dope. But the other side of that is it also has a really good score. The score is kind of heroic and at times really dark. It fits the tone where things go back and forth. And I think that tonally, the Autobots aren't excessively just weird or funny or uncharismatic for no reason. Like there are certain Autobots that do have certain personality things and characteristics, and I think that witty banter is back and forth. And I think the out of world experience that we're seeing through the eyes of the characters Noah and Lena definitely is felt when they're going through certain circumstances. But I think it works. And the weird thing about this is that, again, I said that Tobe Nwigwe is in this role, and I think he does a really good job. I think that he is kind of trying to be the comedic relief at times, but they don't overuse him. Like I've seen the times where some of these Transformer movies would run that into the ground, and thankfully they didn't do that with his character. But they did add some very interesting characters that I didn't suspect would do very well, and I think partly because I did not recognize them in their respective roles. I've already expressed Peter Dinklage is in this, and he is Scourge. I don't hear Peter Dinklage. I hear and feel Scourge, like an OG. When he is on the scene, like you feel like, okay, he's kind of a vet, and you don't want to mess with him. And we've had, Megatron for so many years, so it's kind of like seeing this is even more interesting. And also the way they began this movie, the opening shot, kind of much like Bumblebee, they do something similar to that as well, but the levels to it, ooh, so visually, this is great. Like this has all the action. The third act of this, the last final fight, I was impressed. I was clapping. We unanimously, the crowd was actually cheering with what they were actually doing and were able to accomplish. And I was subtly surprised by some of the things they did. And oh my gosh, I got to say it now. When the movie ends, there is a mid-credit scene. There is no end-credit scene. There's a mid-credit. And oh my gosh, I can't believe what they just did. And it's so interesting because there have been so many good movies lately. And I feel like if I describe any of those movies, it's going to give this away. But oh my gosh, you're going to be thrown off. Like fans will understand how crazy that is. But I'm going to give some credit where credit's due as well. Pete Davidson as Mirage, he crushed it. Like I actually liked his character. I didn't know it was Pete Davidson before we started, but I like Mirage. I like Mirage's relationship with Noah, Noah's brother, and I think that he came off very charismatic. Because it's weird because when you got a character, like Bumblebee, everybody already knows, well established. You bring another character into the fray, and they're the point person. You don't know if it's actually going to work. But the characters Chris and Noah, like he worked with them very well. It was a really good back and forth banter that I really appreciated. I mean, you got Michelle Yeoh in this. I mean, you got amazing actors and voice actors in this, and I think they all took it very seriously. I'm trying to think about some negatives because I think the thing is, if you know what you're getting into, for a fact this is not like Oscar worthy in terms of like drama or things that are going to happen to add depth to something. But I do think if you loved Beast Wars, right, and like what they did with the Maximals and certain elements to that, it's in this. If you even saw recently Netflix, the War for Cybertron with Kingdom, certain sprinkles of elements of that, like the War for Cybertron is a very good trilogy. Go and check that out. That actually brings resonance to this movie, and it helps propel this movie in certain ways. where I never think it would have before in this era. But again, it's just so interesting because I'm like, yeah, I know it's going to be corny and cheesy at times. There's going to be these random one-liners that just take you out. Like there are definitely some moments like that when Noah and Elena are first meeting together, and certain things they do underground kind of remind me of like some Tomb Raider stuff. Like it was a little much, but they wanted to give the human element something. But I think that every moment that were kind of a little bit cringy at times, they equally added either one, a great measure of good action, or showed you something that you didn't expect from the characters, whether it is an emotional moment, whether it is like a casualty or something to that nature. I do think that there are different tonal levels that they balance pretty well to make this a unique Transformer movie. Again, I'll say this, I said it in my reaction. I think in hindsight, between this movie, Bumblebee, and Transformers, this might be in my number three or number two best Transformer live action movies. Now, I think that the pinnacle is what I showed you before, the War for Cybertron. If you want to go back to the OG original Transformers animated movie, definitely go back to that. But I think the War for Cybertron is peak. But for live action, Transformers 1, Rise of the Beast, then Bumblebee. I think that's where it's at. This is my number two now favorite Transformer. This actually invoked me being excited about seeing possibly more, and especially how they ended this. I'm gonna leave it there. Go and check out this movie. I promise you that you will be subtly surprised and impressed with what they were able to accomplish with this movie. I'll talk to you guys soon. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys, all of you. Take care, guys. Peace, people.